Hello and welcome back to Locator Gaming. I'm going to play Arkham Horror, the card game, the LCG by Fantasy Flight Games, and I'm going to play the Dunwich Legacy cycle. I plan on doing all of the Arkham Horror content that I have, and I'm restricting my decks to cards that were available when that cycle came out. So these decks that are built are decks that are built only from 2 core sets and the entire Dunwich Legacy cycle. And I've chosen 2 Dunwich Legacy investigators, and I decided to go with like a pure monster fighter and a pure like clue gathering investigator. So my monster fighter is going to be Zoe. She's got a 4 willpower, 2 book, it says intellect, I guess it is, 4 combat and 2 agility, and her ability is after you become engaged with an enemy, gain 1 resource. And her Elder Sign effect, Elder Sign is +1. If this skill test is successful during an attack, that attack deals +1 damage. So Elder Signs during combat are good. Read her flavor text real quick. Zoe had known that she was special ever since God spoke to her one night when she was 6 years old, the night the terrible fire took her parents away. He told her that he had chosen her from among all the people of the world to be his agent. She would protect the innocent and punish the wicked. Since then, he comes to her in times of trouble, offering guidance and comfort. Zoe now travels from city to city, taking work as a chef to support herself. When she isn't working, she stalks the night, guided by the Lord's voice. Wherever she finds wickedness, she strikes it down without remorse or hesitation. And these investigators from the Dunwich Legacy cycle, their decks, they can take cards of their color. So she's blue, so she's got Guardian cards and also neutral cards. But you can also take 5 level 0 cards from any other class. So we'll see how the deck is built. These decks are from Arkham Horror DB. I did not build them myself. I just looked at some decks on there and took some of the highest rated ones off of there. Whoops. And then we've got Rex Murphy. 3 willpower, 4 intellect, 2 combat, 3 agility. He's a reporter. After you succeed at a skill test by 2 or more while investigating, discover 1 clue at your location. His Elder Sign effect is a +2. And you may instead choose to automatically fail this skill test to draw 3 cards instead. When disaster strikes, Rex Murphy is usually on hand, suffering the consequences. After spending a day with Rex, even the most hardened skeptic would concede that the man is cursed. Anytime he had a lead on a good story, something would go wrong. That business in Innsmouth with the photographs that had blown out to sea, the tracks in Dunwich that had washed away in the rain just before he'd brought the sheriff. His terrible fortune has more than once exposed him to gruesome beasts and occult conspiracies. To survive, Rex has developed an inquisitive mind, keeping 1 step ahead of the next disaster. And he has another deck building restriction that he cannot have fortune cards in his deck because he is unlucky, so no fortune cards. So each investigator needs a basic weakness. I've got the deck of basic weaknesses here. And I'm gonna randomly pick out of the stack and try not to look at the card, which is the top. Okay, that's the top. I'm gonna take that one and that one. So sleeve that, throw it in there. We'll shuffle those some more when it's time to draw. It's a little more fun the first scenario to also be surprised by the basic weakness that your character is going to have. I am playing with my lovely Team Covenant player boards, and I've got tokens. I've also got some other tokens that I like to use for this. These little magnifying glasses for clues to help augment the game. So check in the bag. In the bag we've got 1+1, a couple of zeros, a couple of -1s, a couple of -2s, a -3 and 4, 3 -1s. Is that right? Yes, 3 -1s at standard. 2 -2s, a -3, -4, skull, skull, hooded cultist, elder sign, and tentacles. That is our starting chaos bag for this campaign. Who knows if it's going to change up. I have not played this campaign before. Okay, Dunwich Legacy. Prologue. Dr. Henry Armitage pours himself a glass of Pinot, and sits down at his desk, gesturing for you to sit across from him. I apologize for the short notice, he begins. His face is pale, his forehead sweaty and wrinkled with worry. Armitage, the head librarian of Miskatonic University and a former mentor of yours, privately contacted you in the hopes of gaining your assistance. Eager to help, you made your way to his home in Southside. Upon entering, you were surprised to find his home in disarray. Books and notes litter his desk, and an empty bottle of wine has tipped over onto the ground by the fireplace. You'd always known Armitage to be neat and well organized. And he looks a little freaked out in the picture. Just saying. The elderly man takes a moment to collect his thoughts. I'm looking for 2 of my colleagues, Dr. Francis Morgan, Professor of Archaeology, and Warren Rice, Professor of Languages. Warren was supposed to meet up with me over supper earlier today to discuss several important findings, but he has since gone missing. At first, I thought nothing of it, but I have a nagging feeling something else is going on, a very familiar feeling. You've never seen Armitage quite this worried before. His hands tremble as he reaches for the glass on his desk, and he sips from it nervously. I tried to find Francis, hoping he knew where Warren was, but he too is out of touch. Francis has been spending a lot of time in some gambling den, or so I am told. I sent for you because I'm worried Warren might be in trouble. I would appreciate it greatly if you could find him for me. You may also wish to ask Francis for help if you can reach him. So we had the choice of either looking for Professor Warren Rice at Miskatonic University, and that would be scenario 1A, or trying to find Dr. Francis Morgan, and that would be scenario 1B. I just set up scenario 1A because it was the first one here in the book. So for this scenario, Dr. Armitage is worried his colleague, Professor Warren Rice, might be in trouble, so he asked for your help in finding his friend. He seems unreasonably nervous about his colleague's disappearance, considering Professor Rice has only been missing for a matter of hours. So for setup, we had to gather several different encounter sets. And if we were playing extracurricular activities as the first scenario, we had to pick a certain faculty offices card to keep in play and another one to put out of the game. Well, it's not in play, it's out of play, but it's in this it's available for use in this scenario. We also had a list of other cards to set aside, some more stuff that we can run across during the scenario. And we had to set out these 6 locations: the Orne Library, Miskatonic Quad, the Science Building, Administration Building, the Student Union, and the Humanities Building. The connector arrows are simply red cardstock that my wife cut out on her Cricut machine for me. Nothing super fancy with those. And then shuffle the remainder of the encounter cards to build the encounter deck right there. And the rest is to be read at conclusion. So we're doing standard mode. We draw a skull, it's -1. If you fail, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. The cultist, -1, -3 instead if there are 10 or more cards in your discard pile. So as the game progresses, that token gets worse. And the gas mask tentacle Cthulhu looking thing which we don't have in the bag, right? It's not in the bag, so it must be able to be put into the bag at some point. Yeah, we've only got skulls and the cultist for now. So we'll keep that over there. What else? Let's read our agenda. Quiet halls. You've arrived at the Miskatonic University campus in search of Professor Warren Rice. Classes are over, and a mysterious silence hangs in the air over the quad. So I've had this game since it came out. I've had the base box anyway, and I'd played it all those years ago, and I had never noticed until I think I was, again, watching at one of the Team Covenant streams, and someone mentioned that these two, when placed next to each other, make the picture of a book. I'm fairly embarrassed that I hadn't noticed that on my own. And then Act 1A, After Hours. Professor Rice was last seen several hours ago by one of Armitage's students in the Humanities building. So that's down here. Oh, you know what I have to get? Let me see if I can reach it. I don't have my player cards that show where we are. Rex, Murphy, and Zoe. Zoe and Rex. All right, we're supposed to start at the quad, I believe. Each investigator begins playing the Miskatonic quad. So we need 3 clues per investigator to advance the act. 7 doom will advance the agenda. Since we're at the quad, we should reveal it. 6 clues is quite a little haul. Now let's take a peek at it. Miskatonic quad. A too early winter has stripped the trees bare. Their dead branches whistle as a sharp, cold wind cuts across the empty quad. As an action, we could resign. We can't find Rice anywhere. You leave the campus hoping Armitage will forgive you. All right, let's resign. Thanks for joining me. No, I'm just kidding. No clues and a shroud value of 3. I guess maybe just in case you drop a clue or something. We'll see how the board works out. I'm thinking about playing assets down here and enemies that engage us in front of our boards here. We shall see. All right, we got to draw our hands. We've got our 5 resources. I'm thinking we shouldn't get too far away from each other. So when I was looking at the map and I was putting stuff out, the science building, the administration building, and the student union all have locations that they can connect to that are not out on the board yet. I'm guessing we should go towards the humanities building because that's the clue that it gave us somewhere on the act. It said something about the humanities building. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rex, inquiring mind. Commit to a skill test only if there's a clue at your location. I think we'll keep that. It's 3 wilds. Mind over matter. Play only during your turn until the end of the round. You may use your intellect in place of your fight or evade. So we drew. Okay, now we know what his basic weakness is. He's got amnesia. Choose and discard all but one card from your hand. Now we can't have a weakness during our initial draw, so we replace that card. All right, Laboratory Assistant. Your maximum hand size is increased by 2 while checking your hand size during the upkeep phase. After Laboratory Assistant enters play, draw 2 cards. Emergency Cache. I don't think we need that right away. Magnifying Glass is good. I'm almost thinking well, if we get to draw 2 more cards, I want to spend 2, 3... Maybe we just keep this hand. We've got a couple of assets, a good card to commit to helping us search. Not only search, but any kind of skill test, as long as there's a clue there. And Mind over Matter, just in case we need to fight. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm okay with this hand. This has to get shuffled back in. His ability, if he succeeds a skill test by 2 or more while investigating, discover a clue. So we could use those 3 wilds to try to ensure that we can trigger his ability. Right? Okay, Zoe, you need some weapons. So we're going to dig for some assets to help her fight. He's got some stuff to help him look for clues, and his emergency Mind over Matter just in case he needs it, and get more resources because Laboratory Assistant's going to get him a couple more cards. All right, 2, 3, 4, 5. What did we get? Flashlight, we got a 45, which is good. If it bleeds, fast play after you defeat a monster enemy. Each investigator location heals horror equal to that enemy's horror value. That seems like a later game thing. Guts helps willpower. Flashlight. I guess just in case, even though she's supposed to be the fighter. Let's put Guts back. I think I'm going to hold these 3. Yeah. Draw 2. She got a weakness, so that can't stay in our hand. Okay, she got a machete also. Machete is an action to fight. You get +1 for this attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, it deals 1 damage. Deals +1 damage. So I think we put our 45 out first and use that until it's out of ammo, and then we can use the machete. And we got a vicious blow. So she is ready to do some damage. I'm wondering if we go to the Humanities building through the library so that we can get some clues on the way. All right. Been a little while since I played. I pretty much know the game though, but I've got my handy dandy player aid cards. So Mythos phase we skip during the first round, and we just go straight to the investigation phase, where each player is going to take their turns. I think we'll start with Zoe and go towards the Orn library. Or do we set up for a turn? No, she'll be good. She's going to spend 4 on her 45, and she needs 4 ammo for that. And she'll move for her second action to the library. Let's scoot you guys over just a bit and completely mess you all up. 3 floors of weathered gray granite. The library looks more like a reliquary than a place of learning. Stone gargoyles snarl down from above arched windows. In Latin script winds around the double doors at the top of the wide set of stone steps. The library. Only 1 clue per investigator. You must spend 1 additional action to investigate the Orn library. But it's got a victory 1, so if we get the clues off of it, we'll get an XP. So that was her second action to move, and since it takes 3 shroud, she's not set up to be an investigator. Let's just emergency cash for 3 resources. And Zoe's done. So if I laboratory assistant now, I don't want him to be alone, so let's move and then 1, 2 and investigate next turn. Laboratory assistant, 2 resources. When she enters play, I get to draw 2 cards. Perception helps in investigating, and deduction. If this skill test is successful investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location. And then let's magnifying glass. Oh, this does not take an action, it's fast. Okay, so I can magnifying glass for 1. Then I still got another action. But I cannot, man, I've got 2 events and 3 skill cards. I cannot investigate because it takes 2 actions in this location. Let's emergency cash while we can. Look at that. We got 2 assets played. We're back at our starting resources. Okay, that is end of the investigators phase. Enemy phase. Enemies with the hunter keyword would move towards nearest investigator. What do you know? There's none. Each engaged enemy attacks if able. Reset. So we will reset our folks. Ready and exhausted cards, of which we have none. And now we draw a card and gain a resource. And this is where I always, I shouldn't say always, but I tend to forget. Another perception. Rex is going to be a investigating machine, and Zoe gets another flashlight. All right. Then each investigator checks their hand size. We're nowhere near 8, and his hand size is actually 10. We go to the top of the next round. So, beginning of the round, we place a doom. And then we advance the agenda, but it's not. And then each investigator draws 1 card from the top of the encounter deck. Oh, I got to pick a lead investigator. Right? Which I forgot to do. I think Rex will be our lead investigator, because he's going to get the first card. So here's Rex's card. Ancient Evils. Place 1 doom on the current agenda. This can cause it to advance. So we go from 1 to 2. Zoe's card. Beyond the Veil. It has Surge. Put Beyond the Veil into play in your threat area if there is no copy of Beyond the Veil in your threat area. If your deck has no cards in it, take 10 damage and discard Beyond the Veil. So if my deck runs out, this is basically just going to kill me. Yeah. Never seen a card like this before. It's a Hex. It has Surge, which I'm almost positive means I got to draw another card. After investigator draws and resolve a counter card, yes, resolve an additional. Ancient Evils. Great. We're off to a swimming start. And now we're back to us. So, I think I start with Rex. Shroud is 3. His intellect is 5. And I will commit deduction to it to make it 6. Do I need to do that? What fails in the bag right now? So right now, if I was at -2, well, I want to do that so I can. Yeah, I want to play this card so I can get the 2 clues. Yeah. Yeah. How many times will I say yeah? Okay, so 6 to 3. We're up by 3. Okay, -2, so I succeed by 1, which is a success. So with deduction, I get both clues. And that is 2 actions taken. So I think his last action will then just be to move to the Humanities building. Professor Rice was last seen in the Humanities building, teaching one of his Latin classes. The murky windows of the weather-worn structure emit no light, and the night is silent around you. All right. At the end of your turn, if you're in the Humanities building, discard the top X cards of your deck, where X is the amount of horror on you. Well, we want to get done here as quickly as possible then, because right now we have no horror. And especially Zoe, because of this, does not want to be discarding a bunch of cards. Okay, 2 clues per investigator. With a shroud of 3. She can make it 1. Now let's try it. It's not her speciality, but we'll try it. So 1 action to move, another action to play flashlight, cost of 2. Her last action will be to investigate. Does that make Rex's actions inefficient because he... Maybe not. Maybe not. Yep, she will investigate. And she will commit her other flashlight to the test. So that takes her to 3. Oh, I got to put 3 supplies on her flashlight. And we're going to use 1. And that makes the shroud a 1. So we're at 3 to 1. 3 to 1. -1. Our fighter got a clue. And that's it. No enemies to fight. We reset. Go from 3 to 4. And from 6 to 7. Draw cards. Oh, amnesia. Choose and discard all but 1 card from your hand. Uh-oh. Oh. Which card do we keep? Inquiring Mind? I got another Mind Over Matter in the deck, so I guess Inquiring Mind. Man, he's got all kinds of resources and nothing to spend it on. Okay, Zoe. Prepared for the worst. Search the top 9 cards of your deck for a weapon asset and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Well, we're kind of loaded with weapons right now. Okay, start of the next round. We're at 4 out of 7 already. There. And bad cards. Pushed into the Beyond. Revelation. Choose and shuffle a non-story asset you control into your deck and discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If a copy of that asset is discarded, take 2 horror. Laboratory Assistant is going back into the deck. She served her main purpose and let me draw 2 cards. I really don't need the extra hand size right now because I've only got 1 card. And I have to discard the top 3 cards. I don't want to take horror here because of this thing at the Humanities building here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. We're off to a great start. It is Arkham Horror. Okay, now Zoe's card. Exact same thing, are you kidding me? I did shuffle this, right? Flashlight is going in. We know at least 1 flashlight's already in discard, so that's less likely to draw the other flashlight. I'm really questioning how much I shuffled this now at this point. I'm going to give it another shuffle. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to give it another shuffle. Two, 3. No flashlight. Oh, but we lost a lucky. Yeah, I know I pile shuffled. I've just gotten incredibly unlucky, I guess. I remember pile shuffling before I started filming. No enemies yet, so Zoe hasn't been able to really play her part. Okay. Rex is going to start. So it's a Shroud of 3 again, so it would be 5 against 3 would be up by 2. I want to see if I succeed. Because if I succeed, then I'll definitely commit this to try to trigger his ability to get the last 2 clues. So I'm up by 2. -3. Well, I do have 2 more actions, right? So we'll do it again, just up by 2. And this is -1. Yeah, so he succeeds by 1. So he gets that. And his third action is going to be to do it again, but I'm going to commit Inquiring Minds. So it's 8 to 3. Trying to succeed by 2 or more. Yeah, I succeeded by a ton. All right, so... And Zoe can still go. But we're going to turn in 3, 4, 5, 6 clues, because it doesn't say anything about the start of a turn at a specific location or anything like that. You were able to find Professor Rice, but one of the students you spoke with you were unable to find Professor Rice, but one of the students you spoke with mentioned a strange man entering Rice's office. Unfortunately, the door leading to the faculty offices is locked at this late hour. The student says that the head janitor, Jazz, might be able to let you in if you can find him. Shuffle the encounter discard pile and set aside Jazz Mulligan into the encounter deck. Well, I would be shuffling the encounter deck anyway. Okay, so Jazz Mulligan and the discard pile. I gotta search this thing for this guy. That's Looney Tunes. I wish I had a card that could allow me to have another investigator take an action or something, because he has finished his turn and he's going to get hit by this effect here. So he's going to have to discard cards. I don't remember what happens when you run out of cards. You take a damage and a horror? I've got Marvel Champions in my head where you get an encounter card. All right, so that agenda is done. Act 2A. Rice's whereabouts. Concern for Professor Rice's safety, You seek out the head janitor, who can let you into the locked sections of the campus. Spend 1 clue, discard the top 5 cards of the encounter deck, top 10 instead if there's 1 player in the game. If you discard Jazz Mulligan for any reason, resolve his revelation effect. Objective, when you take control of Jazz Mulligan, advance. Okay, so we need to get clues so we can cycle through the encounter deck. Okay. Well, Zoe is not a clue gatherer. And I think I want to stay with him. I don't want to go too far away. I want to move 1 location, draw a card. Zoe's Cross. After an enemy becomes engaged with you, exhaust Zoe's Cross and spend 1 resource to deal 1 damage to that enemy. Our third action will be to spend a resource to get Zoe's Cross out. Okay. There's no enemies still. So we just flip everybody over and get resources and cards. Word of Protection. Play when you would draw a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect, then take a horror. Oh, wait a minute. At the end of your turn, this card should have been discarded. When his turn ended, he was there and he had horror. So those 2 cards would have been discarded. This would be the card he draws. If this is another deduction. We already played one of these. Okay, and Zoe's card. Zoe did not have any horror, and she did not even end her turn there. A Guts to help with willpower. Okay. Top of the next round, we're at 5 out of 7. And those adding Doom cards are back in here. It does not advance. Rex gets the first card. Of course, Rex gets the Whippoorwill enemy. Aloof Hunter. Each investigator at Whippoorwill's location gets all of that. What does aloof mean? An aloof enemy does not engage investigators of its own accord. An investigator may use an action or a card ability to engage it. An investigator cannot attack an aloof enemy unless he or she is engaged with it. Well, that's not too bad then. I was all bummed that he was the one that got it, but it doesn't engage him. It just sits at the location. It looks like a flying fish. Okay, Zoe. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Well, pushed into the beyond again. Because we have this search for a weapon card, and we have our machete, I think the 45 is going in. $45 is going in. Man, but 3 more cards are going to get discarded. There's no way you can survive that, right? No 45, and we lost our elusive and our double or nothing. Okay, that's both of the encounter cards. So now we go to our turn. Let's have her investigate the student union. Even at this late hour, you can hear a muffled chatter from inside the student union. Perhaps one of the students will know where Professor Rice is. Ooh, we got a really low shroud here, which is good. After the student union is revealed, put the set-aside dormitories into play. For 2 actions, we can heal a damage and a horror, and there's no limit on that. Okay, 2 clues. And the dormitory. Connected to the student union. It says here, the door leading into the dormitories is locked. You cannot move into the dormitories. But I'm guessing that's why we need the janitor, because we got to get the janitor to get into the rest of the campus. That was 1 action. Do I just get the machete out now for a 2nd action to be prepared? We'll save our resource to spend on Zoe's cross. And our 3rd action, we'll just investigate for the heck of it. She's up by 1. You never know. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 tokens in here. Or actually more than that. 7, 8, 9. There's plenty of tokens in here that are only -1. And that's not one of them. All right. 1 action, 2 action, and we have a 5 versus 1, and our ability has got us where we can probably discover both of these clues anyway, so we'll hold on to our deduction. We're investigating at 5 to 1 here. Why couldn't Zoe have drawn this? But with Rex's ability, he gets both of these clues. And that's 3. That's 3. So this creature is aloof, but it also is a hunter. So he will move towards us. During the enemy phase. And then we reset. I wonder if... which triggers first? Is it her ability or Zoe's cross? I don't know if I get to pick. Because her ability gets her a resource when she becomes engaged with an enemy. And she can spend a resource when an enemy becomes engaged with her to deal a damage to that enemy. It's almost like you just give up the resource that you would get from here to just do an automatic damage, which would just kill the whippoorwill. Whip poor will. Okay, now let's go to our resource gathering. So from 8 to 9, from 1 to 2. Let's get some cards we can spend money on. Emergency cash. Emergency cash. Top of the round. So that's 6. Card. Packed Power. Peril. You must attach Light of Aphorgomon to either the current agenda or the current act. Limit 1 per agenda act. Treat all damage as direct damage and all horror as direct horror. I'm going to attach it to the agenda because that's about to advance. We don't have anybody to take the horror or damage for us anyway right now. Okay, Zoe's card. Put Beyond the Veil into play in your threat area if there's no copy of Beyond the Veil in your threat area. She already has one, so... But that has Surge. Visions of the Future's Past. Test 5 will. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. I cannot keep... losing cards. So she's going to commit Guts, which adds 2. To her 4 is 6. To the test of 5. It's not great. Oh, man. So she has to discard a card. Guard Dog. Oh. No fair. Okay, it's our turn again. I'm not too worried about the Whippoorwill. One, two. Administration building. Around the aged administration building, creepers of ivory climb from the ground in an effort to claim it. The old hall stands alone in an isolated section of the campus, apart from the day-to-day bustle of students. Whoa! 4 Shroud. Oh, I should have had Rex go first and turn clues in. Shoot. Yeah, that was a mistake. Dang it. Put the set-aside faculty's office into play. At the end of your turn, if you're in administration building, discard the top of your deck. Well, Zoe's not staying here. That was 1, 2, 3. Kind of a lame turn, but... And... Faculty offices. Also locked. Rex is going to take an action to spend a clue. Top 5 cards in the encounter deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, no Jazz Mulligan. Spend another clue for his second action. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No Jazz Mulligan. A whole bunch of enemies, though. So we're going to need some more clues, probably. Unless we just get him as our card draw. We've got 1 action left. I guess we move with Zoe. Okay, so the hunter does not need to move. He's already with us, but he's aloof, so he's not going to engage. He just weakens our abilities. And we go to the top of the next round. So, 7th Doom. Yeah, I think this goes away when the current agenda changes. The university is dead silent. The shadows coil about your feet as you walk, and you swear there is something following you with each step you take. Is it just your imagination, or is there really someone or something stalking you? Each investigator with 5 or more cards in his or her discard pile takes 1 horror. Each investigator with 10 or more cards in his discard pile takes 2 horror instead. Uh-oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Zoe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If players have completed the house always wins, advance directly to Agenda 2B. If extracurricular activities is the first scenario in the campaign, advance to Agenda 2A. So 2A. Professor Rice's disappearance isn't the only thing amiss at the university. You're unsure exactly what's going on, but you're starting to believe Armitage was right in asking for your help. Each investigator's maximum hand size is reduced by 3 while checking his or her hand size during the upkeep phase. Okay, so we're down to 5. So that was Add Doom, and now bad cards. So Rex, Eager for Death. Test Willpower 2. Increase this skill test difficulty by 1 for each damage on you. If you fail, take 2 horror. So we've got no damage. It's 2 to 3. And we have nothing that we can add. And Zoe can't help. Man, he's quickly taking a lot of horror. Man. This is not a great start to our campaign. Zoe, you've already got that. Surge. Offer of Power. You must either draw 2 cards and place 2 Doom on the current agenda, or take 2 Horror. That's going to leave her with only 2 Horror she can take. I don't think she can take the Horror. Dynamite Blast and Dodge. All the enemies, not all, but there's a ton of enemies in here. Oh, I forgot to flip these guys over. So, Rex is going to the science building, his first action. The science building dominates the eastern side of the campus. Its windows are dark, save for a lone window shining faintly in the corner of the basement. After the science building is revealed, put the set-aside alchemy labs into play. When you fail a willpower test in the science building, take a damage. At least I think that's willpower. Okay. Alchemy labs. Two clues with a shroud of 2. It's fine. 2 clues with a shroud of 2. We're at 5. I'm going to bank on just his ability, being able to handle that. I didn't even put the clues out down here. It's like, oh, shroud of 4, no way. What was I? 5 to 2. I'm up by 3. I'm only up by 3. No, I'm going to play the deduction. I want both of these clues in one action. I'm running out of time with the Doom and everything that way. And he's got a bunch of horror on him. So I'm at 6 to 2. The skull is -1, which would have, his ability would have been fine. His third action is going to be to spend a clue and dig through the encounter deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's not a lot of encounter deck left. Oh, come on. No jazz. What do I do with Zoe? I don't want to dig for cards. I guess I could get resources in case I need this dynamite blast, or I need to dig for her 40 another weapon. Might as well just get rid of this guy. So the first action will be to engage this guy. We gain a resource from that, and Zoe's cross. We exhaust it. Spend that resource we just got to deal the 1 damage. He's only got 1 health. So he's gone. So that was 1. Resource. What a weak sauce turn. Weak sauce turn. There's no enemies to do anything. We've got so many resources. Mind over matter is good in case I need to fight. Her card is a guts. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's got too many cards. Because of the agenda, reduces our hand size by 3. Man. I guess vicious blow. Okay, top of the round, third doom advances the agenda. A cry of fear echoes through the campus, and several students flee from the eastern side of the university where the science building can be found. Could this commotion be linked to Professor Rice's disappearance? If the dormitory's location is not in play, put it into play. If the experiment is in play, move it 1 location toward the dormitories. If the experiment is not in play, spawn it in the science building. Oh, great. Massive. The experiment gets +3 health. Forced. When the enemy phase begins, ready the experiment. If the experiment is defeated, advance to Act 3B. And guess who's in the science building? Rex Murphy. But the experiment is massive. A massive enemy is engaged with each investigator at its location. So I don't... Does it really need to be in front of him? Probably not. It's just engaged with everybody. If the experiment is defeated, advance to Act 3B. Okay, the Beast Unleashed. Some kind of wild creature is on the loose. Whatever it is, it appears to be headed toward the university dormitories. Forced. When this agenda would advance by reaching its doom threshold, instead remove all doom in play and move the experiment 1 location toward the dormitories. Objective. If the experiment enters the dormitories, advance. So every 2, it will move closer to the dormitories. And I'm betting when it comes here, that's bad. So, now we draw our encounter cards. Rex is first. Locked door attached to the location with the most clues and without a locked door. You cannot investigate. All right, and Zoe's card is Jazz Mulligan. Revelation, put Jazz Mulligan into play at your location. While Jazz Mulligan is not controlled by an investigator, he gains the action parlay test 3 intellect. If successful, take control of Jazz Mulligan. While you control Jazz Mulligan, you can ignore the text on each unrevealed Miskatonic location. So we can ignore the text that says that these locations are locked. But then this one, when you take control of Jazz Mulligan, advanced. Okay, so we have to take control of him to advance the act. All right, my turn. So Rex is in a little bit of trouble. He needs to evade the experiment. I think Zoe's going to go first. But before we get there, no, Rex is going to go first. Try to evade the experiment. He's not a hunter. So he's just going to move towards the dormitories. Okay. All right, so the experiment, 13 damage, that's a lot. His attack is 4. So Rex will go first. I'm going to commit Mind Over Matter. Yeah, so it's 2. I can use my book. I got to spend a resource. I can use my book in place of my evasion, my agility. I'm not investigating, so that doesn't buff it up. So I got 4 to 2. Four to 2. No. Because this becomes a -3 if there's 10 or more cards in your discard pile. I got to get away from that thing, so I got to just keep trying. Now I'm only at +1. Oh, you got to be kidding me. What? Uh-oh. That destroys my dynamite plan. Oh boy. The experiment has 13 health. If I move for 1, attack for another 1. Attack twice. And I can cancel the attack with dodge. That would go against Rex. Move. Fight with the machete. It's only 5 to 4. I'm going to play this for a resource to search the top 9 cards for a weapon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 45. So the machete will give me another fight. Okay. Second action move. I guess I'm now engaged because he's massive, so I'll get that resource and do a damage. This is not smart. This is not smart at all. Okay, now we fight. I'll commit this machete to make it... Fight with this machete, commit this one, so it's 6 to 4. Okay. That is the end of my turn. Enemy phase. Each enemy engaged attacks you. I'm going to play 1 to cancel the attack against Rex. And then Zoe just has to take it. She can't. She can only take 1 more. Okay, that's the end of the enemy turn. Resource. Card. He can get away, but he's going to have to take an attack of opportunity. Card. Smite the Wicked. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. Attach Smite the Wicked to that enemy. Spawn at the location farthest from you. That enemy is still in play at the end of the game. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 2, 3. Not a hunter. Okay. Doom. Treachery cards. The following card types. Each player must discard each card in his or her hand that is the chosen card type. Skill. Now her card. Ancient Evils. Place a Doom. We've already... this effect can cause the agenda to advance. Okay. Experiment moves towards a dormitory. Now it's our turn. I don't know what happens when you evade a massive creature. Are you just no longer engaged with him? So Rex will go first. That's one movement. He's going to have to evade. We'll commit shortcut, so it's 4 to 2. So this is his second action. So he passes. So he's not engaged. His third action is going to be to parlay with Jazz Mulligan. So it's 5 to 3. Okay, so he gets Jazz. But that was his last action. And ready the experiment. So he gets unreadied. So I think Zoe's okay to move through there. All right. You convince Jazz that something strange is going on and that Professor Rice may be in danger. He doesn't trust you enough to hand you his keys, but agrees to come with you. All of a sudden, you hear a crash coming from the science building, and a student rushes towards you. Help, he cries. There's some kind of animal loose in the chem labs. I only barely caught a glimpse of it, but I think it's heading to the dorms. You've got to do something. If the Alchemy Labs location is not in play, put it into play. If you are at Agenda 1 or 2, spawn the experiment. If you've completed, the house always wins. We have not. If extracurricular activity is the first scenario of the campaign, remove the set-aside alchemical concoction from the game instead. So the alchemical concoction is removed from the game. Campus safety. You have only moments to react. You could warn the students in the dormitories and escort them to safety, or continue your task of searching the faculty offices for Professor Rice, or perhaps you could try to slay the beast that threatens the campus. Well, Zoe cannot take another hit from the experiment. Perhaps she should move. While he's exhausted. For 1, 2. let's get ready to use our dynamite blast on this guy. So let's gain 3 resources for her third action. So we go to the enemy phase. There's no enemies. Oh, this guy readies at the start. There's special text on his card. Experiment readies. Does not have hunter, does not have hunter. Doesn't matter, really. And then they attack. So 2 and 2. I'm gonna go 1, 1, 1, and 1. And no attack down here because we're not engaged. All right. So we reset. Reset. Resource. Card. Don't need to get clues. Give me something I can evade with. Magnifying glass. That is a negative. So Rex needs to either get away or he's gonna die from the experiment. Start of the round. Doom. You must either draw 2 cards and place 2 Doom on the current agenda, or take 2 horror. Well, we can't take 2 horror, so we're going to draw 2 cards, put 2 Doom. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Hey, that actually works. That moves the experiment here. Those go away. Now, card for Zoe. Choose one of the following. Each player must discard. So I'm going to choose skill again. No skill cards. No skill cards. Now it's our turn. Zoe's going to start. First thing Zoe's going to do is dynamite blast this location here. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and to each investigator at the location. You can do it to a connecting location. So boom, 3 damage on a Yithian observer. That's one action. Our second action is going to be to move down here. He would engage. So I'm going to spin the resource and use Zoe's cross for the last damage. And this is actually a victory card. No, that's his engagement area. Where can I put victory cards? Just up there. It's fine. This is done. Faculty offices. After faculty offices is revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a humanoid enemy and spawn it here. Shuffle the encounter deck. If investigators in the faculty offices spend 2 clues as a group, we read resolution 1. So we just need to hope that the experiment does not move into here on the next turn, right? Rex can go 1, 2. I gotta get all 4 of these. It's 2 per investigator. It's down to the wire. Down to the wire. Okay, we gotta search. Counter deck and discard a pile for a humanoid enemy and spawn it here. Wizard of Yog Sothoth. Her first action was Dynamite Blast. Her second one was to move. We'll pick Thrall, and it spawns here. It's going to be engaged with her. She gains a resource because that's not limited. Did I not spend enough resources? I feel like I should not have that many resources. I don't think I spent the right number of resources. Did I only spend the ones? I must have only spent the ones. Shoot. I could be hampering myself. Anyway, so she Dynamite Blasted, she moved. Revealed this. She can't do this again. Our third action is going to be to fight. We do get +1 damage, and this thing only has 2 hit points. And 2 fight. So we're 5-2. +1. Yeah, this gives +1 damage. Dead Thrall. So he's done. Rex 1, 2. And investigate. Using our magnifying glass, I'm going to commit this magnifying glass because I'm trying to beat it by 2 or more. So that's 4, 5, 6 to 2. Oh, wait a minute. She's going to do this, spend a resource. She defeated an enemy. She gets to discover a clue. Okay, Rex. -1 is going to be good enough to get 2. Why does he have a clue? He had a clue left over. We've got 4 clues. Hey, he had that clue left over. He got both of those clues up here, and Jazz came out. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I think I cheated. I don't think Zoe was able to unlock this door. Shoot. Let me see what happens if I survive another round. Actually, I don't even know if I was able to spawn that character way over here. It might need to have been spawned here. So she probably would have had to have fought it here. Yeah. I think I screwed up a little bit. Let me just see what happens if I survive another round, if the experiment doesn't move down or not. So I'll call my turn done. There's no attacking because there's no other monsters. We go 1 here. His card has an additional cost to move into or out of the attached location. You have to test willpower 4 to discard this. Otherwise, you must either cancel the effects of the move or discard the top 5 cards of your deck. So if you wanted to move in or out of there, and then her card is same thing. Because I had that extra turn, I think I would have been able to figure it out, so I'm still going to call it. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is investigate here to get this victory point. So it's 5-2. And this is -1. So we get that clue, which will get us the victory point, and turn in 4 clues to read resolution 1. Not perfect by any means, because I think I don't know if I was able to put that guy down here or not. I don't think I've ever faced a massive character. Well, maybe the last guy in Night of the Zealot, he was probably massive. The guy that just kills you right away, basically. R1, you find Professor Rice bound and gagged in the closet of his office. When you free him, he informs you that the strange men and women wandering around the campus had been stalking him for hours. They cornered him in his office and tied him up, although for what purpose, Rice isn't sure. You inform him that Dr. Armitage sent you, and Rice looks relieved, though he suspects that Dr. Morgan might be in danger as well. Because the strangers on campus seem to have been targeting Professor Rice, you decide that the best course of action is to escort him away from the campus as quickly as possible. As you leave the university, you hear screaming from the northern end of the campus. An ambulance passes you by, and you fear the worst. Hours later, you learn that a rabid dog of some sort found its way into the university dormitories. The creature attacked the students inside, and many were mauled or killed in the attack. In your campaign log, record that the investigators rescued Professor Warren Rice. Any one investigator may choose to add Professor Warren Rice to his or her deck. This card does not count toward the investigator's deck size. In your campaign log, record the investigators failed to save the students. You're haunted by guilt. Add 1 the broken tablet token to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. Each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X value of each card in the victory display, and proceed to scenario 1B. Let's check out Professor Rice. You get +1 book. After you discover the last remaining clue in your location, exhaust Professor Warren Rice to draw a card. So I think he's just going to go to Rex for that extra +1 book. And okay, that's it. So that's the first scenario. It's very Arkham Horror-y, very like on the edge of like, man, it's like a feeling of dread the entire time. Like, I'm just going to lose, I'm just going to lose. And the students kind of lost. So I think there was some rust, definitely some rust, because it's been, I don't know, 2 months probably since I played this, or more even. I still love this game. It's a great game. So I will move on to The House Always Wins in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this playthrough, all the other playthroughs on the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.